Okay, Mr. Harness here, and we're working on GeoCon, and this is notes for sections 8 through, or Unit 3, numbers 8 through 16. There's some new information that you need. Let's start with what you already know. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, and let's talk about what you already know. You know that the sine of an angle, and I'm just going to put A for angle, equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. You know this already. You know that the cosine of an angle is equal to the adjacent side, adjacent leg over the hypotenuse. And you know that the tangent of an angle is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. Now, in class, I may get into some more explanation of some things behind this, but you don't need to know that stuff to be able to do it. So let's talk about how you work these problems out. We've already talked about how to find an angle if you're given two of the sides. Let's now talk about what to do if you have an angle and one side. So let's do that right now. So here we have a right triangle. And let's say that I told you that this was 10 feet tall, right here. Let's say I told you this angle over here was 20 degrees. Okay. Now, let's say I said, I want you to find how long this is right here, how far away this is from this point to this point. I'm going to put an X right there to represent what I'm trying to find. Now, the first thing that you do is you identify what you have. So you can do this in your mind real quick. You just go, see, I got an angle, right? Here's my angle. Okay, I'll write the word angle here. There's an angle. I'm not talking about the right angle. Okay, we know that one because it's a right triangle. We have this side over here, which is the opposite leg. So I'm going to write opposite right here. It's opposite side of the triangle from the angle that I have, right? Not just from any of the angles, but from the angle that I know. Okay. We also have this right here. This is also a leg, and this is the adjacent leg. This is the leg right next to the angle that I have. Notice the hypotenuse is not part of this problem. The only things that are part of the problem are this angle, this opposite, and this adjacent. So if I look at my three trig functions, the one that uses an angle, an opposite, and adjacent is this one. There's my angle, opposite, and adjacent. These two do not use opposite and adjacent. They use opposite and hypotenuse, adjacent and hypotenuse. So now I'm going to be using tangent. All right. So what I do, identify what I had. Okay. Identified what I had. Second thing I did is I picked my trig function. The third thing I'm going to do is going to set up the question. Okay, that means we're going to plug everything in where it goes. Okay, so now we're going to say tangent, because that's what we picked, the tangent of the angle. Angle goes right here, equals the opposite leg, which in this case is 10, over the adjacent leg, which is unknown, x. All right. So now we're going to solve this equation, which means before I solve this one, we're going to take a little rabbit trail here. Can we take a little rabbit trail here? Let's talk about something real quick. Okay, this is a side note or a rabbit trail. Okay, solving equations. Let's use some different numbers and a different color, blue. Let's say I said 5 equals x over 2. Now, if I was going to solve this equation, I would multiply both sides times 2, because I need to get that 2 out of the denominator. So this 2 is going to cancel with this 2 on this side of the equation, leaving me only with x on this side of the equation, which is what I want. On the left side, 2 times 5 is 10. Now, what if instead of the x being in the numerator, let's say the x was in the denominator. I'm going to pick some different numbers. 6 equals, let's say we're going to go with 12 over x. Okay, now let's talk about how to solve one when the x is in the denominator. Okay, technically, here's how you would solve this. You would start by multiplying both sides times x to get the x out of the denominator. We can't solve it when it's in the denominator. Okay, you can't just multiply by 12 and get rid of that 12. That would not work. But if I put the x in the denominator, the x's on this side cancel, leaving me with just 12, just like what we had happen over here. Except this case, the numerator is a 12. On this side, we have 6 times x, which is 6x. Now we can solve to get by the x by itself by getting rid of the 6 by dividing. Okay, so the 6's would cancel on this side, leaving me with just x. On the right-hand side, we have 12 divided by 6. In this case, that works out evenly as 2. Now, I want to focus for just a minute, use orange, on this step right here and this step at the beginning. Notice in the beginning, the x was in the denominator. Notice after 2 steps, I get down here. Where's the x at? Right there. Okay. Now, if I go back to up here, the 6, which was over here by itself, is now down here. Do you see what happened with the x and the 6? Didn't they just trade places? Didn't the 6 go down here and the x went up there? That's actually a shortcut that you can do. This will work all the time. Any equation where you have a variable in the numerator, or frankly anything in the numerator, a numerator on one side can trade places with a denominator, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, denominator on one side can trade places with a numerator on the other side. Now let's go back to our problem, and I think you can see why this will be helpful. Notice my x is in the denominator. So I'm going to take this x, and it's going to go up here to the numerator. Not just with the 20, this whole thing. Tangent 20 is a number. Okay? It's not separate. It's not tangent times 20. So the x is going to go up here, right? Over here, 10 over. Now where the x was, this tangent 20 is going to go. Okay? So now to find this missing side, we have our problem. We set it up. Fourth thing we do is solve it, and that's what we're doing right here. We're just doing algebra, okay? At this point, I can do 10. This line means divided by tangent 20. So on your calculator, you're going to type in a 10. You're going to hit divided by, which puts a slash. Then you're going to write, you're going to type or hit that tangent key, not second and then tangent, just tangent, which will look like this on your calculator. And then you put in that 20. Close that up, hit equals. I don't have my calculator on my screen. I think that'll work. But I'll do it off screen here. We've got tangent 10 divided by tangent 20 equals, I get 27.4747 blah 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 blah. Okay, so we'll round off 27.5. And that would be feet. All right. So this is the basic idea of what you're going to do when you have a variable in the, this is what you're going to do when you're solving an equation where you're given an angle and you're giving a side and you're trying to find one of the other sides using trigonometry. Okay. Hopefully this will help. I may try to put up a few more videos later, but hopefully this will get you started on the next set of homework.